Today, we're going to talk about what looks like just a big ditch dug in the desert, but is actually one of the most important waterways on the entire planet. We are talking about the Suez Canal. Seriously, think about the phone in your hand, the clothes you're wearing, pretty much anything. There is a very, very good chance it took a trip through this one narrow strip of water. Let's dig in and see how. So before the canal existed, if you wanted to get goods from Europe to Asia by sea, you had to go the long way around. I mean, the really long way, all the way around Africa. It took months. Then the Suez Canal came along and just sliced right through. The difference is just incredible, right? It's not just a shortcut, it was a total game changer. We're talking less fuel, less time, and a whole lot less money. So let's get into it. Just how big of a deal is the shortcut really? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering. The canal itself is 120 miles long. Now, you have to remember, this was 120 miles dug straight through the Egyptian desert, an absolutely incredible feat of engineering to connect the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. And what do you get for digging that 120-mile channel? How about this? For a ship sailing from London to Mumbai, it saves about 4,300 miles of travel. 4,300 miles. That is a massive difference. And saving that much distance means you're saving weeks at sea on a single trip. That means less fuel is burned, costs go way down, and all that stuff gets to you much, much faster. This wasn't just a small improvement, it completely rewrote the rules for global shipping. But you know, a shortcut this important doesn't just appear out of thin air. Building it was a monumental task, one of the biggest and toughest construction projects in history. Let's take a look at how they actually pulled it off. So the digging started all the way back in 1859. It took 10 full years of intense, backbreaking labor before it officially opened. But here's the thing, the work never really stopped. Just a few years ago, in 2015, they completed a massive expansion project to make sure today's even bigger ships can get through. I mean, can you even imagine digging a trench 120 miles long, mostly with shovels and very early machines, all while dealing with the brutal desert heat and disease? It was an immense struggle, but the result connected two seas and literally changed the map of the world. Okay, so we've established it's a huge shortcut, but what does that mean for us right now, today? Well, it means it's one of the most critical and busiest shipping lanes on the entire planet. Get this, a full 12% of all global trade passes through this one canal. Let that sink in. More than a tenth of every single thing that's bought and sold around the world funnels through this one narrow waterway. And what kind of stuff makes up that 12%? Well, pretty much everything you can think of. Consumer goods like electronics and clothing, but also the crude oil that becomes gasoline for our cars, the natural gas that heats our homes, and all the raw supplies that factories need to actually make all that stuff. You can think of the Suez Canal as a giant artery for the global economy. It's the most direct link between the manufacturing hubs in Asia and the consumer markets in Europe and North America. It keeps the whole system flowing. So, as you can probably guess, keeping this vital artery clear and running is a massive 24/7 operation. Let's take a look at how it's all managed. Now, here's a really cool technical detail that makes the Suez Canal so special. It's what's called a sea-level waterway. So, unlike the Panama Canal, which uses these giant water elevators called locks to lift ships over mountains, the Suez connects two seas that are already at the same height. This means ships can just sail straight on through, which makes the trip a lot simpler and faster. So how does a gigantic ship actually get through? Well, it's a highly organized dance. Ships don't just show up and go in. They have to line up and enter in groups called convoys. Then, for each ship, a specialized local pilot, an expert from the Suez Canal Authority, climbs aboard. This person knows every single current and tight corner of the canal, and they're the ones who safely guide the massive vessel all the way to the other side. But here's the catch. Because this passage is so important and also so narrow, the biggest fear is a blockage. What happens when the world's ultimate shortcut suddenly gets jammed? And this isn't just a what-if scenario. It has actually happened. A single mistake, one ship getting stuck, can bring a huge part of the global economy to a screeching halt. You probably remember seeing this on the news. In 2021, the massive container ship, the Ever Given, got wedged sideways and completely blocked the canal. For 6 days, absolutely nothing could get through. The entire world was watching as teams worked nonstop to free it, and it really showed everyone just how critical this one waterway is. The consequences were immediate and massive. You had a traffic jam of hundreds of ships piling up on both sides. The blockage was costing billions of dollars in trade every single day it was stuck, and that created a ripple effect that caused delays for products in stores all over the world, showing just how fragile our global supply chains really are. So all of this brings us to the future. The canal is more important than ever, but the world it serves is always changing. See, the container ships being built today are absolute giants, way bigger than anyone could have imagined when the canal was first designed. To keep up, the canal itself has to get bigger. That's why that 2015 expansion was so important. It added a new parallel lane, which lets ships travel in both directions at once and really cuts down on transit times. And that leaves us with this final, crucial question. The Suez Canal is a marvel of human ingenuity, no doubt about it, but the demands placed on it are constantly growing. As our ships get bigger and our supply chains get faster, can the vital shortcuts we all depend on handle the pressure?